Sivaya Nama Thirukeezhkottur. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Tirumurai, 10th Tirupathikam and the 9th verse. The verse goes this way, Thirukeezhkottur. யாது நீ நினைவது எவரையாமுடையது எவர்களும் யாவையும் தானாய் பாதுகை மழலை சீலம்போடு புகுந்தென் பனிமலர் கண்ணுள் நின்றாகலான் கேதகை நிழலை குறுகென மருவி கெண்டைகள் வெறுவு கீழ்கோட்டூர் மாதவன் மணியம்பலத்துள் நின்றாடும் மைந்தன் என் மனம் புகுந்தானே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse is a lovely practical verse that we all should be memorizing. If you look at it, there's a lot of contradiction between the practical world and the spiritual world. What are the contradictions is what, at least one of the contradiction is what we are going to talk about here. Let's look at the way when we fall for a person or an object, as in fall in love with an object or fall in love with a person. The first thing we do is we have to look at the person or the thing. Once we look at the object, we like the way how it looks, or probably the ability, or probably the skills that are there, whatever. Something attracts us. Because of that, it stay puts in our heart, which means love comes in only through eyes. How about in spiritual world is the other way. Imagine we would have been staying in the same locality for so many years and there would have been a Shiva temple over there, but we would have never bothered to even go nearby. Even for rain, we wouldn't have gone there and stayed there for shelter. But the moment Lord Shiva decides to get into our heart, that is when our eyes will start looking up for his temples. Then only we will realize, hey, there's such a beautiful temple near my house. How did I miss it all along? And then we will start going over there. So, in our materialistic life, if something needs to get into our heart, it has to go through our eyes. But in spiritual world, first it gets, as in God gets into our heart, only after that he gets on or stay puts in our eyes. This is something which we will be able to resonate in our world as of today. Imagine there are two people who are getting into a fight or a war. One king who succeeds will conquer the king who has failed. The defeated king will surrender himself. In this case, surrender depicts something that is a failure. Is that the same in spiritual world? No. Imagine we are going to a temple. We bow down and say, God, I'm surrendering myself to you. What happens over there? They sprinkle water, they give you flowers, and they give you a crown. So imagine when we surrender in the materialistic world, we lose. When we surrender in spiritual world, we gain. We get a crown. Can you imagine this kind of a contradiction? The worldly world and the spiritual world has a lot of contradictions. So all we have to do is understand this contradiction, fall in love with the spiritual world and totally surrender ourselves. Let Lord Shiva sit in our heart so that our eyes will be filled with Lord Shiva. Okay. Who is this Lord Shiva? He is part and parcel of everything around us. You see a living being, you see a non-living being, you do see Lord Shiva in everything. He is there all the way from stones to the trees to the animals to the fellow human beings that we are able to see around us. He is in the form of sun and moon and air and whatever we are able to feel, which means he is there around us. He is within us and he is around us. Once we start understanding this reality, this truth, that is where the entire world is going to open up for us. That is what verse number 9 is all about. I'll come back again with the next verse very soon. Until then, Sivaya Nama Thirukeezhkottur.